afternoon, everybody. I'm Deb from Project Life, Deb's Way again. And for those that are coming to my channel for the first time, welcome. I'm doing a layout this time using the Uniquely Creative beautiful Hello Darling collection. It's an absolute gorgeous children's. To give you a quick, that's the back of the sheet. It gives you an idea of the tonings and things that they've used with this collection. It's absolutely beautiful for your children's layouts. So here's a quick look. I'll move it back a bit and try and get the light off of it that I've done. And I'll show you the other side as well. Here we have. Now for this one, I actually added a flap for myself, but the actual layout I will just do the one photograph. But as you can see, I've just added another sheet and put a teddy bear and some flowers in and used some of the leftover papers to do that flap. And of course my pocket had a hole there, so it worked really well with that sleeve. So I will go through and I'll make all the cards for you from start to finish. And I will give you a look at the papers I've used, and also too on my Facebook group I do have a cutting file for all the papers and etc., which I'll put the link down underneath this video if you want to go and check that out. So please don't forget to subscribe and like my channel, because then you'll get notifications when I get the new papers and things to do new layouts. So let's get on with making our cards and doing our layout. So here's a quick sneak peek at the layout that we'll be doing in this video as promised, and we'll get on with what papers I used and etc., and then get on with making the cards. So here are the papers I've used plus the cardstock. So this is Uniquely Creative's Hello Darling, and it has some beautiful, and it would be easier for me to show you. I used one each of all of the papers, including the cut apart sheet and also the floral sheet. The one sheet I didn't use with this one here, 2858, called Precious. So you'll need one each of the collection pack except for this one here. I have used one 12 by 12 white sheet, but I did have to add a tiny little 3 1/4 by 4 1/4 white card to this particular layout. Then I used, for the rest of my backing, I used the Kaiser Craft Weave CD 306 Mushroom, which is like a taupey brown, and if you have a look, it actually goes with the browns. So whatever cardstock you sort of need a browny toning that sort of goes like that sort of brown. You can actually have a look at the teddy. So pick up one of those browns you use. Now I've just bought this out because I've got the cutting pieces of the cut apart sheets I used, and as you can see, I've cut them out. They're absolutely beautiful, the little animals, and these are the tonings of the flowers that we'll be using throughout the layout. So they're the papers I've used, and as you know, I do have the cutting files and etc. available through my Facebook group. So I'll put the link below for you if you want to go and check that out, so you can cut your papers to do this layout, which would make it very much easier for you. So I'll give you a quick sneak peek. So with no further ado, let's get on with making our cards and finish our layout. So here we start with our cards. Now we have got here card number 1, and I will be using a few of these 1mm raised dots to just get some dimension onto my cards. So I have got my little mounted dots on this particular flower and the little bunny. The rest are flat. And here is my 6x4 card, and I have distressed once again. I won't show you me doing all of that boring stuff with my I like the ground espresso because it's not too dark a brown. So I've got my 6x4 card here. I also have my, get my ruler here, 5 3/4 card here, which is going to go on the bottom like so. Now I did in my cutting files cut this particular card and it was a bit too long, so you need to trim 1/4 of an inch off of this card. To make it fit beautifully in that center. So this needs to be placed onto your card with that nice little border all the way around. So we'll pop that on first, pop our little other card on there as well. Just to give us our base of our card. Now this is what I call one of my eye candy cards, and I normally put my title and dates and things, but I'm not going to do that this time. I'll do it once I've done the video because they are of my children and everything else, so it's sort of giving away their birth dates and things like that. But I will put the photographs in. I'll just leave all my details off of the layout for later. So once you've stuck those cards down, you need to turn it up so that the card is portrait, and then we'll just pop our ephemera on how we think we want it. Now I'm raising up mine like so and putting it there, and then my little bunny will go here. So what I'll do first is I will attach this down with my tape. So I will get that nicely placed and actually attached nicely. This one is going to be flat, so once again I've got my tape on there and I'll pop that here. So I'll get that all stuck down. Now this one I've got the 1mm mounting tape on there, so I'll take all my covers off of my dots. And then maneuver it into position like so. Then I have to make a decision where my bunny is going to go. And then I'd pop my title up in the top there. So there we have card number 1 complete. Card number 2 is quite simple. We have got a 3 1/4 by 4 1/4 plain white card, and as normal I tend to put, particularly on these portrait ones, my tape running this way, so if I've got any tucking to do I can get them in. So pop that on your card first to actually get your base card that you'll be working with. So there's our photograph done there. So now I have got one of the cut aparts, and I've just done the 3 flowers, and that comes from, I've got the leaves here, this small flower here, and if you have a look here, I have cut all of the extra stuff and just left the base 3 flowers in that cut apart sheet, and I want those to go tucked underneath like that, as far over as you can get to the left hand side. So I'll take my tape off of those, and I've distressed the edges of both the 6x4 card, and I've sort of gone round my flowers to take those little white bits off. So we'll pop that on flat, just like that. Now I've got the little love heart, which came from the supplied sheet in the Facebook groups files. You can download that and print these off. I've cut the 1 small flower which I've put mounting on, and I've put 2 mounting but not at the bottom of the heart, and the 2 little bits here I'm going to stick with some glue. So I've got a little flower bud and a couple of leaves. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to attach this heart. Now I want the heart popped like that, and I want it stuck flat underneath but raised at the back, which is why I've got the 2 pieces of mounting at the top, and I'll just put a little bit of glue at the bottom. So that the heart is actually flat here. Now the mounting tape, I will just pop my flower just where that flower was underneath. This little bud, I want to tuck it underneath, and if you can't get it underneath, just snip the end off and just pop a bit of glue on there, and you'll be able to sort of pop that underneath like that. Same with your leaf. If you can't get your leaf in there, trim it up so you can. So you can actually get that tucked underneath. Just pop your couple of leaves in. There we have card number 2 complete. Now I'm going to do both of these together because they're exactly the same. So this is card number 9 and card number 3. I've already done number 3, but I've got my 6x4 distressed around the edges. I have got my 5 3/4 by 3 3/4 photo mat, and we just put that into that centered. And there we have our 6x4 pictures, which you will cut down just to fit, so you've got a little white border on those. Card 4 once again is quite a simple one. I have used the little cat which is on the cut apart sheet here, and this floral here is this one here that I've cut out on the cut apart sheet. And I've just distressed around the edges of the white brick card and also my ephemera. So of course you've got your 6x4 in your mushroom. This is the 5 3/4 by 2 3/4, 3 3/4 card, which you just put into the mushroom card centered. And you'll have a 1/16 of an 1/8 of an inch border all the way around, sorry. So then you also have your white, I threw it to one side, your 3x4 photo card, which is going to go in the bottom of the card. So we'll pop that on there first, but only press pop it centered so you've got the same amount all the way around, but don't attach this piece of the card as yet. So now what I want is, we have this piece here which came off of your printed sheet for the group, and one of the tickets, which I'm going to just pop, making sure I've got it the right way. Then our flower is going to be popped underneath, and our little friend over the top like that. Once you're happy with your placement, so to take those two pieces off and pop your tape or glue, whichever you're going to use. I'm going to use tape. Take your tape off. Pop that underneath. Pop your ticket on. And have that sticking out just a little bit, just to add some layer. Now with this particular one here, I think I may actually layer this completely flat, and for that I'm going to use some glue because there's a few bits around, so it's easier to apply glue. Just tuck that underneath. And stick that all down. Then our cute little line, I've put that 1mm dots on, and I'm going to put that just a bit over the photograph, and I've actually put these dots, I might raise that a little bit, so it's definitely, if your line goes over your photograph, you can still get your photograph underneath like that. And there we have card number 4, and all of our portrait cards done. We'll move on to our 3x4 cards to finish this side off. Now we're going to do card 5B. So this here, you had your 3x4 with the check. Now when I edged this, I got my edging just like that, so just the edges were marked. You don't want any of that edging to go inside your card. I'll show you why in a second. Now this particular one here, when you actually cut this, you need to cut the 3x4 square down to 3 3/4 by 2 3/4, so that you have a tiny border all round. Now if you'd edged that all in, you wouldn't see any of your gorgeous check, but when I've done the edging with this, I've actually slanted that little bit extra so that you actually get that smudging on the inside of your card, not just on the edge. So that actually gives you that lovely dimension that you can actually see your check, but your card shows up. So we're going to attach that to this card, the 3x4. So now you have your piece that you cut from your paper when you were cutting your paper. So this needs to go down the bottom here in the right hand corner, but I have put some foam mounting tape at the top and tape at the bottom, so it's flat but raised at the top. I'll take them off and pop that onto my card And as you can see, it gives you a little bit of layering, but it's flat down here. And I have got my cute heart, which is on your printed sheet, which you need to just pop up the top like that. And there is your 3x4 candy card. Now, for the people that can't get the pocket sleeves with the 3x4s, but can only get the 6x4 sheets, here's the other card which I'll be making next. So to get them to stay, if you haven't got the right pockets, just cut yourself a 6x4 card, and that will go underneath, and you can just attach them to the card like so, and slip that in your pocket so that it looks like 2 3x4 cards. And that is a workaround the problem of getting the different Projectlife sleeves that I've done. So there is card 5B complete. So we will now go on to our cards, and I'm going to do these all together. So we've got 5A, 5C, 10D and 10B, and they are all the same. They are the 3x4, and then I have cut a photo mat just slightly smaller, and it is 3 7/8 by 2 7/8, and all that does is it just gives you that little bit of a brown border. So when you get your 3x4 photograph, you need to trim them down that tiny little bit so they get a little white border on them. And all 4 cards are all exactly the same. So here's our last of our 3x4s for our left hand side. I've got my 3x4 and I've distressed. I've got my little bit of mushroom card here, which I'm just going to lay onto my piece, and this is about 1.5 by 3 3/4. So I'm just going to pop this down the bottom of my 3x4 card. With an even border all the way around. Then I'll grab my next one, which is just slightly smaller than that, and pop that onto my card. So then I have formed my base card to build all my ephemera on. Now I've got a lovely flower bunch here, which came from the cut apart sheet up here, this one here, and I've just fussy cut it out, and I'm going to stick that down. I'll use a bit of glue on this one because there's lots of bits to stick. So I'll stick that all down and get that really well stuck. There we have it here. So now I've got my little horse, and I've put all foam mounts onto that so it's a bit raised. So he's going on onto my piece. Then I have got one of the banners. They have a lovely banner in the cut apart sheet, and I've cut it in half, and I've used some on 10A and some on 5B, so you've got a piece on either side of your layout, just so that it all balances. And this is going to go here. So what I've done, I've put 3 pieces of foam tape on the center buntings, and I'm going to stick the other two down. So 2 will be flat. And unfortunately, there we go. Let's get that working properly. So that way your bunting is slightly raised but flat. And there is 5D completed, and we've completely finished one 12 by 12 side of the layout. So on to card number 6. Now this is for our right hand side. So we have got a 6 by 4 card here. Now this particular card, when you cut it, I actually didn't get you to trim it down. So you need to trim this card down from the 6 by 4 to 5 3/4 by 3 3/4, so that you'll end up with that thin border all around. So that needs to be popped on to the base card. Now you can see why I needed those bricks to run the different ways when I was doing these cards, so that you ended up with card number 4 with the bricks running the same way. So one was portrait and one was landscape. That's why we had to cut the papers like we did. So now we have got our full base card. Now this is an eye candy card again, and you had that beautiful floral strip that you cut down, which needs to go onto your piece flat. So I am actually using glue for that once again, because I've got so many, there's so many little fiddly bits with this. It's easier to do it with glue. So pop that onto your card at the bottom, and I've distressed around the edges and inked my fussy cut pieces as well. So we'll make sure that's all stuck down nicely so there's no catchy bits. So this piece here, oh sorry, just lift that up before that sticks, sorry about that. This needs to just pop underneath like that. So I've got my tape on there. Now this one came from the cutting sheet that I supplied with the cutting files. So that just goes underneath, and that is to continue this piece here. So you've got one on both sides of your layout. Now I've got the cute teddy bear, which is going to go here, and he's on mounting tape. And this came from your printed sheet as well, to go with the green square sheet that you used on card number 4. Now I've got that on mounting tape. I've inked around the edges. That is going on like that. And then our gorgeous little teddy bear . Going fully mounted onto our card, and there is card number 6 complete. Now card number 7, I've done a little very old-fashioned trick, but before we do that, number 7, you would have cut this little card out from one of the cutting sheets as we were cutting. Yeah. And you also have a couple of tickets from the printout sheet, and you need to snip a little bit off and sort of stick the little green one slanting upwards. And I think the green ticket was this ticket here from the cut apart sheet. So, and I've put the flowers onto mounting tape, but how I've done this, I've got my 3 1/4 by 4 1/4 white photo mat, but there was this lovely floral that was here. So what I've done, I've got my Stanley knife and I have just cut through, I'll try and show you. I have cut through just enough that the card will fit in, photo mat will fit in. So I've twisted it like that and brown inked the edge. So all I'm going to do now is I'll put my tape on my photo mat. It's a really good use of papers to do this. Then I have just poked my photo mat through that hole and centered it up into the card. It's a bit tricky, but it's well worth doing. Probably if you use glue on your card, it might be a bit easier because you've got wriggle room to actually get this. And then pop it down, and there you have your photo mat, and your photo can just be slid in. I then popped on mounting tape the florals, but just stick the bottom down and not the top, because you need to pop in your tickets. Now you need to cut them down enough that they will just tuck in. As soon as you're happy with their placement, just pop some glue. Pop them in, then pop your mountings down. Now make sure when you have your mounting tape that there is no tape on your photo mat. If there is, you can put a little bit of the backing to make sure that your photograph can slide underneath. So there we have a very simple but effective card number 7. Now we're on to card number 8. Now when I asked you to trim your mushroom card, it would have been five and a half by 2.5. Now that's way too big, so you need to trim 1/2 inch off, so you will end up with a piece like this with the 1/2 inch off, which will then fit the card that you made to go on the top. So trim 1/2 inch off of that so that it will fit and look like that. So we're going to do exactly the same as we did with card number 1. You need to pop this onto your card, down the bottom, and grab this which you've distressed around the edges and pop your tape on there like that, and that makes your base card. Like so. Now we have our photo mat, which is going to go here. So with this one, pop it down, but don't attach this side. So pop that sort of, so there's an even border all the way around that card. Now I've cut one of the full flowers out and this small one here and a bud. The two tickets that I've got here have come from the printed sheet. Now what I want to do here, this one, and I've just made the decision, looking at this, I feel that it needs to go the other side. So before that really sticks down, I'll move that over. Okay, so we're going to put the flower up the top here, just underneath that card. So we'll start with our underneath layer first. Like so. Then I want those two sort of stamps layered unevenly. So you can still see that flower on the top. So once you're happy with that, glue those into place. Now this particular one I've put onto mounting tape. Which I've just put over that photograph a bit, and then I've got a tiny little bud there to pop in to go over that ticket. And there we have card number 8 complete. Now we've already done card number 9, so we'll go on to our 3x4 cards next. Here is our first of our 3x4 cards on our right hand side, and it has this beautiful floral. So what I wanted to do here is just pop this flower down the bottom, and this came off of the cut apart sheet. Just pop that down the bottom, get it stuck nice. I have got the little bunny girl on mounting tape, and she is going to go over the other side. So you're just bringing that floral curve down with the bunny. Now, once again, I have got the last of the bunting that we cut, and I've done exactly the same. I've got my 3 pieces of mounting tape. I'm going to stick the other bits down and curve it up and around. Just get that bunting correct, get it nicely curved. So there we have card 10A, and how easy was that card. So now we will go on to our 10C card. Now this card might look complicated, but it isn't. And once again, you've got your 2 layers. So don't forget, when you do your edging of this, just go along and pounce just the edge of your card. It will give it a bit of dimension, but you won't lose your checker pattern. Whereas with this one, I've distressed sort of into the edges. So we've got our 3x4 card, our smaller 3 3/4 by 2 3/4 card on the top. Once again, that is to make sure that you have 2 similar cards, one on each side of your layout. Now, this was the ephemera that we cut while we were cutting our cards. And once again, I've just raised the outside there, and I'm going to put just tape so it's flat when it sits here, but raised here. Now I've got my piece of smaller card, which I've cut a little bit smaller, about 1.5 inches wide, which will go onto the side. With my small insert that I've cut, I'll pop that on as well. And there we have basically a layered base card. Now this piece is going to go here, just on the side with the border. So it's going to be flat and partially raised. We'll take off our so that goes flat and that goes raised. Then we've got our beautiful love heart, which we are going to put an extra little foamy dot on one side, mainly because I've got everything raised here and it's going to hit that. So make sure we've got it on the right side. So when we put our heart, it is the same width this side as this side. So there we have our lovely, and I think I might actually raise that slightly. It's not quite high enough. Actually, I prefer it down the bottom. There we go. That looks much better. So I'm going to put the heart down the bottom. So there we have our whole of our layout completely finished, and I will give you so here's a good look at the finished layout of all the cards that we have just made and how I've laid them out. I haven't put any of my details on. I will be going through after this video tutorial and doing that, but I have added one thing when I was doing this. I had a lot of photographs and didn't have enough room, so I am going to make a small little flat page. There we go, like that. And depending on how the opening of the pockets, I'll put my fold mechanism on my layout. So there we go. That's what my layout will look like with the extra card, but yours will look like this. So I do hope you enjoyed this process, and don't forget to subscribe and like my channel, because then you'll get notifications when the next one will be. So until next time, keep crafting. Bye.